start your day on your own terms and end your day on your own terms. So I try not to do work, emails, and all that.
Hello and welcome to the Productive Habits Podcast, where we talk about our journey of going from non-productive wastemen to aspiring productivity gurus. As always, we're your co-hosts, Dennis and Jamie, and in this very special episode, we talk about the importance of setting a good daily routine and the daily routines that we use in 2021. But first off, how you doing, Jamie?
I am doing just great. You know, beautiful morning today, quite cold, but the sun, it's nice to see the sun because when I see the sun, I automatically feel more productive. But I feel great. I had on my phone, it says I had 10 hours of sleep,
Did you really?
but apparently, but I don't think so. So, but just seeing the fact that I roughly had, let's say, 8 to 9 hours, I feel great. So I'm starting this day on a pretty good note. How about
Dude,
yourself?
that is amazing. So you feel like you got 10 hours of sleep.
I don't feel like I got actual 10, but maybe a good nine. Good nine. So
Dude,
that's not bad, right? Not bad,
that is not bad. That is great. That is
right?
fantastic, man.
So
I'm
how's everything on your end?
I'm pretty good, man. Like you were saying, the sun is out, the sun is, shining in. I feel like I'm
Yes.
one of those people that is really prone to getting affected by the weather, like seasonal affective disorder, especially this time of year, man, when it's cloudy and dreary. I feel like cloudy and dreary myself. So when I see the sun is out, I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? This is great. Today's gonna be a good day. I just had my coffee, just got it from Starbucks, a nice
Oh,
grande
actually, nice.
black blonde Americano, and
Mm.
dude, I'm primed to go. Like I feel good, and when you feel good, you're productive. And I feel like that's what we are today.
That's 100%. And you know what? One of my favorite morning routines before COVID was waking up to sun, a nice bright sun, and going to Starbucks and getting a nice coffee.
Oh,
I
dude.
love going to Starbucks, man. Like,
You
I
know,
don't get the crazy drinks, just a nice blonde tall roast, and it's so good.
I'm in the exact same boat. And hearing you say that makes me very sad because I used to do the exact same thing. It wasn't good for
Yeah,
my wallet, but it was good for my mental
100%.
health and my well-being. Just going outside, man, in the nice fresh air, getting a nice cup of coffee and just starting the day.
Yo, summer 2021 patio season, hopefully. Knock on wood, I hope it is. But
Shout out to Ryerson Balzac's, amazingly aesthetic place to go study and work. We spent a lot of time there during the summer in the past years.
they finished the renovations, right? How is it?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I haven't been back on
Oh,
campus in like
yeah.
like a year.
Bro, what does downtown look like? Like for real?
Dude, I don't know. I've been downtown once in like the past 7 months. I
Oh,
honestly
that's
couldn't tell you.
insane.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you.
Jeez. Well, let's hope 2021 summer can bring some smiles and patio talk back. I'm
Oh man,
so
yeah,
looking forward to that. Hopefully.
seriously. But another thing that
Oh
can
my.
bring smiles to your face, provided you do it right, is a good daily routine. Isn't that right, Jamie?
Oh yeah, 100%. Good daily routine makes a huge difference. And we've kind of mentioned our daily routines pre-COVID, but we had to adjust.
Hmm.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today is, our daily routines. What is a good routine? Um, but for myself, a good daily routine is something that makes me feel good. Do you aim for something like that on your end, Dennis?
So I think depending on who you are and what your goals are, your daily routines might be a bit different. Mine are a bit skewed more on the productivity end than more on the well-being end, which honestly I feel like they shouldn't be mutually exclusive, and that's something I'm trying to work on, trying to find that balance, right? But my daily routine is strictly focused on getting the most out of the day and prioritizing and finishing the tasks that I have to do.
And I think, you know, I like how you mentioned like how you focus on one spectrum, getting things done
Hmm.
and actually accomplishing a task you need to do. By doing that, you feel good,
Oh
right? You
yeah,
don't ha right? You feel
it feels
great,
great. Yeah, it feels great.
right? You don't have to start your day with like, oh, I want to feel happy. Let me do yoga. You can start your day with, yo, let me finish this project because if I finish it, I feel great. And so I think in my opinion, you kind of have to balance it both. But at the end of the day, it depends on your goal, right? So if Dennis's goal is to get a 4.0 GPA, then his routine will revolve around that. Whereas
Yeah,
myself, it's a bit different. So again, know your goal, which will we do a podcast on that on a little side note here
absolutely. Good foreshadowing there.
for sure.
Definitely, you're gonna see a podcast on the very important topic of setting goals very, very, very soon.
That's awesome. Can you break down like your routine, or what are your thoughts so far on just a good daily routine?
Yeah. So in my mind, a good daily routine, it's made up of three components, right? For me, and this varies on person to person, especially what you're doing, but I think like the anatomy of a good routine is pretty much set. Number one, I think it should be easy, right? I think the things you're doing should be, they shouldn't take too much effort out of your day. They shouldn't take too much mental taxation out of your day, and you should be able to do them for the most part without thinking. And two, I think they should be sustainable, right? So I think a lot of people get those confused because easy and sustainable are not necessarily the same thing. So, like for
Facts.
example, it's easy to order McDonald's on Uber Eats every day. It's easy,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's easy.
But is it sustainable? Probably not. Like it's not good for your wallet. It's not good for your health. In the long term, you can't keep doing it, right? So I think it should be easy, sustainable, and the last thing, I think to a degree, it should be flexible.
That's good. Yeah, I agree. Just having the flexibility to. The one thing I don't like about scheduling and planning my day is I tend to do this when I have a lot of things that I need to accomplish, is making my schedule too rigid
Oh my
where I
God,
can't
yes.
juggle between, oh, maybe something comes up and I can't adjust it. So I like that flexibility, and sustainable and simple. I think these are like the three main things that you should aim for when creating a schedule. And I just want to add a few things. So once you got that down, knowing that your schedule should be easy,
Mm-hmm.
not too rigid,
Mm-hmm.
flexible. I think you should aim for four things when it comes to actually writing down what things you want to do on a daily basis. So for myself, it is one thing on health, one task on career, and one thing on family and
Oh, that's
relationships, and
great.
one
Yeah,
personal
that's fantastic.
thing, right? So as long as you get at least one on each, and keeping in mind the very basics of keep it simple, flexible, and all that, I think fundamentally is a good daily routine. And
Yeah,
a good daily routine is like a skill. So like juggling, you don't start off with three balls, you start off with one or two.
exactly.
So keep that in mind when you're just starting. As Dennis mentioned, keep it easy and simple at first.
So I like that you mentioned the juggling analogy because I feel like it fits really well. So I think for a lot of people, myself included, and maybe for you too, you talked
Mm.
about the rigidity thing a little bit. When you first get into making a schedule, the easiest thing to do is allocate every hour of your day to do something,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
you know what? I'm going to be productive. So I'm going to make every hour a certain task. I'm going to fill out my entire day with stuff to do. And very quickly, you realize that it sucks. It sucks to do that to yourself. It sucks to live off a rigid schedule where you basically have no control over your actions.
Yeah, dude, I think that's a major problem when people just start planning their days and who
Hmm.
just start, on this productive journey, is they overload their schedule, they overload things they need to do, and you're just essentially setting yourself up for failure. I don't like that, just there's something to it with being challenging, but when
Hmm.
it's too challenging, you're just gonna fail.
Yeah. So,
So
like,
it just needs a little nudge.
it's not flexible, number one, and it's
Mhm.
not sustainable.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
you can't, like, I remember when I, did my whole university thing, right? So like my
Mm.
first year, I was very proactive. I'm like, you know what? I'm on this productivity wave. I've seen what other people do to, achieve their goals, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I took my Google Calendar and I had every hour set up for a specific task. So that included when I was going to eat, when I was going to shower, when I was going to brush my teeth, when I was going to go to sleep, and when I was going to interact with my friends, right? When am I going to go on my phone? Stuff like that. And about a week went by and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I'm so productive, right? This is great. And then 2 weeks went by. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of productive, but I'm kind of, I'm not really happy. And then 3 weeks went by. I'm like, all right, this sucks. Let me not do this anymore.
So you don't have that rigid schedule anymore. Like, are you more free floating where You wake up, it's like, oh, I want to do this, and I'm going to focus and do that.
Yeah. So right now, I kind of it was a pretty drastic overhaul to what I had before.
Mm,
So in terms of like I would have everything scheduled down for a specific time frame. Now instead of hour by hour, I have a goals list or things I need to achieve that day, right? And I'll allocate a certain amount of time to it, but it's not going to be too specific because
mm.
I want things to be able to spill in and spill out. Like when you don't allow for those things, you feel really boxed in, and then you kind of lose the spontaneity of the day, you know?
Yeah, I think there's something to it with spontaneity. It's, on a more easy example, more relaxed example, when you go out with your friends and you just do whatever and not plan anything, sometimes it leads to the best moments in life where, you just plan things in spontaneously. So it's a bit of a balance when you're trying to, create your routine is have a little spontaneity with it, but keep it not too rigid, like have some sort of system, in my opinion,
Yeah,
right?
I completely agree. But you actually brought something up that's really interesting. I have never really actually considered the four tenant things that you talk
Mm.
about. Like, how did you come about that?
Well, I think it's upon just testing things out and watching a lot of productive YouTube videos. And they keep mentioning, right? If you want a good routine, you need to feel good about yourself. So, what makes you feel good? It's either you're working towards your dream, your dream career. It's what makes you feel healthy, relationships, and anything personal on the side. And I'm like, oh, you know what? These are all really four major important categories. So I think when you just focus, when you have at least one thing, one task for each, that constitutes a good routine. And I have many tasks, many things I want to do for each tenet
Hmm.
or for each pillar,
Yeah,
but I don't accomplish all that in a day. I might do at least one, and that makes me feel good.
right.
So yeah, I think that's very important because those are the four major parts of a life. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's funny because I was watching again to plug his YouTube channel, Ali Abdal, where he talks about basically what are the things that make you happy, right? And there's a book that he talks about. It's
Mm.
I forgot what it's called, but it's like the five things that you wish for on your deathbed, right?
Oh.
And for the most part, all of them kind of reiterate the same thing. So I wish I had more
Mm.
time.
Okay.
I wish I, spent more time with my family. I wish I uh, had those relationships with my friends still. And even though like there's five, they all kind of revolve around the same thing. And it really kind of hits home like how we kind of like neglect the emotional and relationship part of our being, in the sense that we kind of focus too much on the career
Yeah.
oriented side of things. So it's nice that you have those four tenants to kind of balance it out.
And I think it's going to be a natural problem for those who are very career driven. And when you're career driven by nature, I think you're more productive.
Hmm.
And so these other tenets, these other pillars, such as family and health, kind of suffer. So
Yeah.
so I think to be really productive, you need to bring those back up.
Hmm.
And they all kind of work synergistically, where essentially it makes you happier, it makes you feel more fulfilled, and it makes you more productive in the long run.
Yeah. And having a good schedule, a good daily routine can help with all four of those things, right? By constantly
Yes.
keeping active,
Yes.
by constantly putting a little bit of effort into each one of those pillars, you're making sure that you're not falling off in any one specific area.
Hmm. It's so funny how we keep bringing up doctors. The other year, because I listened to this podcast like last year or something, and I was listening to this doctor podcast, and he had a patient who was suffering from some mental health issue, and so the doctor prescribed meditation. So
Hmm.
the patient was like, "Nah, you know what? I have two kids who are very active. I have a very busy work life, and 30 minutes of meditation, which he prescribed, was too much." So
Yeah.
the doctor's like, "You know what? You don't have to do 30 minutes. Just do 1 minute of meditation and do that every day." So he did this. The patient did this for 2 weeks. He came back for a checkup, and The doctor was like, how is that? The patient replied, 1 minute was too easy. I found myself doing more than 1 minute, and now I meditate every day. So the whole point here is, when you're creating your daily routine, and we've kind of mentioned it already, start with baby steps. So in the case for the patient, 1 minute led to 5 minutes, and so on.
Yeah, completely agree. And we can't we reiterate this every podcast. Every time you hear us speak, we kind of talk about the same thing. But that's because it's really important. Start small. Build your way up. Don't go from 0 to 100, because like it again, when you do that, it's not sustainable. You can't keep it up. And then afterwards you just feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, and that's a huge component, how you feel and your mental state.
Mhm.
So you want to keep that in check. And with productive habits, our podcast, we didn't go crazy 100%. We just started with something, and it just, grew from there. So just start small, start simple, and you'll grow along the way.
Yeah, another thing to mention too, that it's been scientifically studied that the amount of time it takes for a new behavior to become habit is roughly 21 days, right? So if you keep at something for 3 weeks, if you keep up with your daily routine for 3 weeks, it's no longer gonna feel as laborious as when you first started. Like with anything, the more you do it, provided it's a good routine and a healthy routine and a sustainable routine, it's gonna get easier and easier and easier, and suddenly you won't even notice that you're doing it anymore. It's just gonna be part of your day.
Yeah, I like that. It's not necessarily like 21 days, sure. But if you miss a day or two here, it's
Hmm.
fine, right?
Yeah.
It's all about, as Dennis mentioned, being consistent. But that's cool, 21 days. I like to read into that study. Actually, no, I'm going to assume to be true. Have you tried it out though? Have you tried actually, working on a new habit and staying with it for 21 days? Has it
Well,
worked on
yeah.
your end?
Well, the thing is, I don't know about the 21 days part, but I can tell you that I've done a lot of things where I just want to try it out and just keep going. Like last year, pre-COVID, I had a very specific schedule in the way that I would do things, where I would try and bang out roughly, a lecture or a chapter of a specific subject every day, right? And
Yeah.
I kept it up, obviously until COVID happened and I had to change things up, and we'll talk about how we adjusted our daily schedules. But I kept it up for a while, and basically it didn't feel like a chore. It didn't feel like a routine. It just felt like something that I did every day. It's just part of my
Something.
day. Yeah.
I, th- I think, yeah, the number is arbitrary. Eventually, there'll be a point where you don't notice that you're doing it. It just, as you mentioned, you got to do it, right? It's just
Yeah.
something
You
you're
do it
going to
enough,
do.
eventually you'll just do it.
Yeah. And I think that was my thing with working out, is eventually, after doing it so many times, it's just like, it's part of my day. It's like breathing, right? Wake up. Oh, you know, I don't think about working out. It's something I have to do at, let's say, 2 o'clock. So once 2 o'clock hits, I'm out there in my garage and I'm working out, just like how, Dennis is studying or reading a chapter.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty cool. 21
So
days.
yeah, 21 days, man. Check it out. So another thing is, pretty big elephant in the room. We're in a global pandemic. COVID-21 is happening all around us, and obviously, the things that we can do on a daily basis have somewhat been altered to what we could have done before. So,
Hmm.
we're gonna kind of talk about how we, what our routines were before COVID and how we adjusted them in this new pandemic world. If you want to start, Jamie.
Yeah, I don't mind. So pre-COVID, I usually had classes to teach very early at 9.
Hmm.
And so this is what I hated doing back then, is I would wake up and essentially start my day with work. So, I would get, actually, I wouldn't even make a coffee. I'd wake up, get
Wow,
ready,
no coffee.
right? Well, on the way to work, I would grab a coffee, but that period where I don't have coffee and I'm, in line waiting for coffee, let's say at Tim Hortons, was such a terrible feeling,
It's the worst. Yeah.
right? Your whole world is just like upside down. So pre-COVID, I would get ready, go to work. In between that, the commute, I would grab coffee and then start class. Classes start at 8, so I'll start at 8. And I didn't really like that because I didn't start my day very happy. I started
Right.
my day on someone else's terms, right? The college's terms. And then what was cool though was that I usually finished around like the afternoon. So
Hmm.
it gave me enough time to go to the gym right after, which I did, and then go back home, rinse and repeat. So that was pretty much my day. some days I didn't have to teach. So on those days I didn't have to teach, I would try to get as most things done in the morning. I try to wake up early, go to the gym early, do some
Mm-hmm.
work, mark, lesson plan, and try to do everything as early as possible so that the rest of the day pre-COVID, go to like Kyoto Sushi House, top
Shout
5 in
out.
Toronto. Shout out to Kyoto, sponsor me, and have some time with friends. And I think that's very important.
What was it?
How,
From Monday to Friday, was it the same, and the weekend was different, or was it kind of alternating in
it
between
was
days?
kind of it's kind of the same, right? If I had work in the morning, I usually started my morning with work. If I had no work in the morning, I started my morning with exercise and doing the most important things first.
Oh, okay, I
So
see,
it
I
was
see.
alternating between either two. So I
But
didn't really,
generally was
I guess you could say I had two routines pre-COVID.
oh, okay, I see. Depending on which day you would go
Yeah,
for either routine. I see.
yeah, because I didn't have a standard 9 to 5. It was I have classes in the morning or classes in the evening or afternoon, so it varied.
Okay, I see.
So that's my pre-COVID. What was the other part? What has changed?
Yeah, so like what is it now? Like transitioning into like a post-COVID world. Like how did your daily routine before kind of shift over to what it is now? And what is your
Well,
daily routine now actually?
oh, okay. So that's a very I love these type of questions because it's something that I'm really passionate about. Just talking. Um, so as with a lot of people, working from home is the new norm, and so for a lot of commuters, it reduced a lot of commuting time.
Yeah.
So uh, pre-COVID, it would take me an hour, hour and 10, hour and 20 to get to work.
Mm-hmm.
So now that is gone, right? I don't have to wake up. Well, I still wake up early, but I would get things done and maybe go for a run, go on my cycle, or I mean my stationary bike and exercise. So
Oh,
here's
actually,
my daily routine. I
sorry,
wake up.
what time did you wake up before, like pre-COVID? Like what was your waking hours?
I think pre-COVID. Hold up, my work started at 8. So I would okay. So I left around 6:26, around 6:20
You leave your
or
house.
6:30. Yeah, around 6:30 I would leave, and then I usually get to the college at 7:50.
So you're
So
waking
yeah,
up
that sounds about right.
at around 6, 5:30-ish?
I would wake up. I think 6:15, 6:10, 6:15 was my alarm,
Oh, and then
and
you're
so
out
I
the
would,
door.
and then I'm out the door. Right. So that's why I didn't make coffee. I would grab coffee along the way because if I were to make coffee, then I'm late for work.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
So my daily routine now is I wake up and I hop on my bike, my stationary bike. Well, I make coffee first. Hop on my stationary bike, pull up my computer on it, and do some programming courses. And then if I have class, I'll go do class, do my class. And then usually I have a break between classes where I would either mark, uh, plan my lesson, and I finish off my day with either any extracurriculars. So work, or I mean not work, but gym
Mm-hmm.
or programming or maybe some French on the side.
Right.
So
So
that's
you're
typically my routine.
ending it off on stuff that you like.
Start your day on your own terms and end your day on your own terms. So I try not to do work, emails, and all that.
And that just makes
So
sense, right? Because you
yeah,
don't want to be, stressed at the end or beginning of the day.
yeah, man. Imagine going to bed and you're thinking about the emails you just sent out and whether they're going to reply in a timely manner, right? Like, no, you don't want to do that.
Did I use the right grammar, punctuation
Oh
okay? Like,
no, bro. That's something I don't want to think about. So what's your daily routine? Well, what was it pre-COVID and now?
so pre-COVID. So I'm just gonna talk about like earlier this year, not before that. But in the roughly the first quarter of the year, I had classes for the most part that started every day at 8 a.m. So I would wake up at 6:12. I'd be out of the house by 6:45, and I'd be on an hour and 15 commute to school. And like you, I kind of I really didn't like the commute at the time, but as time goes on, I kind of miss it. I kind of miss that activity of just going out and going
Yeah.
somewhere, instead of just staying in the house. But it was roughly an hour 15, and I wouldn't really sleep. I wouldn't really do anything. I would just kind of sit there, and
Mm.
in a sense, I guess it was just me trying to like wake up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
It's like booting up your computer.
yeah, really a really long boot time. The RAM is old and the GPU is super
Yeah.
old, but yeah.
Knees weak, right?
Yeah,
Gotta get
exactly.
the blood flowing.
Yeah, and then I would go to Balzac's and I would get my coffee.
Mm,
What I started doing later is like making my own coffee just to save money because it's like 3.25 I think every day, and that adds up.
yeah.
But I'd either make coffee or I'd get coffee, and then I'd go to class for for like 4 to 6 hours. And then, after that, I would go back to Balzac's and just kind of study all the things that I did that day. And when everything was said and done, I would leave my house at 6:12 in the morning, or sorry, 6:40 in the morning, and I'd be back at like 8:30, sometimes 9 o'clock. And
Oh
just,
wow, that's
and when I got home, I would also just do more studying.
yeah. You were kind of like all in, right? Just whatever it takes to get that 4.0. So you would continue banging out stuff.
Yeah, well, it was unfortunate because I took 9 courses, so I kind of I put that on
I think
myself.
yeah,
I think it would, if it was like
yeah,
any, like, for most people, don't do 9 courses, do your regular amount that you're comfortable with. But also
yeah,
when you're doing that regular amount, you'll have time for like, social events, hanging out with friends or
yeah,
working out, or the other things that keep you kind of grounded in life, right? The other pillars of yourself. So it's not just focused on one thing. And that's something that I kind of regret doing. Like, I'm happy that I was able to pull off what I wanted to pull off. But, looking back, I think I definitely could have, yeah, like basically, I kind of wish that I had a little bit more balance. And like what you were saying before, the other pillars, the family, the friends, the relationships, the health. I kind of wish that I focused more on that, and I didn't, exclusively have to go in one lane last semester. That's the only thing I could have, I wish I could have done different.
yeah. So what have you changed now that COVID has is on us?
Yeah, well, it's been, honestly, it's been kind of tough because before COVID, I was going out every single day for the most part.
Mm,
And even on weekends, my schedule was the same. Like, I'd still go to campus and do work. Like, I was constantly back and forth. So I never really spent a lot of time at home.
hmm.
And, you know, you know, since COVID, that has done like a complete 180. So I'm not, oh, well, I can't go out anywhere. And all of my time is basically spent at home. And so that transition period of trying to find like a daily routine that worked for me, dude, it took a lot of time, a long time. And I'm still honestly kind of tweaking it to find things that work best for me.
Yeah. So what's your morning? I guess now that you're back in school, like what's your morning routine now?
So basically what it is now is that I wake up at 7:30 in line
Nice.
with the schedule of my dog, and from there I just kind of get the day going. I'm fortunate in that my classes aren't too early this year.
Oh,
The earliest classes I have run at around 9 a.m., which honestly is not too bad. It's a nice welcome
that's
change
good.
from having to wake up at 6:12 every day, like 8 months
Yeah.
prior. But other than that, like, most of it is the same. The only real difference is that I actually have to make time to go outside now instead of studying. So like, because my default is to stay at home, I have to make sure that I get some fresh air, or else, I'm not going to be as productive as I could possibly be.
Yeah, that's so true. Like pre-COVID, by default, you were already getting fresh air on your commute
Yeah.
and walking in between classes and, going to Balzac's and just chilling on the patio or whatnot.
Hmm.
Yeah, so actually, that's a good point. Now that most people are working from home, it's by default you're inside, you're not outside. So now
Yeah.
you have to schedule
Exactly.
going
You
outside,
actually
which I
have to
didn't really
put in
think.
the effort to get
Yeah,
that activity that you would have had before. So to do like a little bit of a more detailed breakdown. So I'll wake up at 7:30. I'll have my coffee. I'll do my I'll have a shower. I'll do all the stuff that makes you a person, right? And then once I'm
mhm.
done that, I'll be in classes, and I'll have my lunch. And then once classes are done for the day is basically when my routine starts, right? Because that's all the
Oh,
stuff I
okay.
have to do. This is the stuff I plan to
Yeah.
do after. So after all that mandatory stuff is done, now the real routine starts. So I'll study, I'll get another cup of coffee. Ever since school started, I'm at like 2 or 3 cups a day, which, depending on who you
Wow.
ask, is either really good or really bad for you. I don't know. I think it's really good, but that's besides the point. So I'll study, and then if it's a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, I'll do one of my set workouts
Mhm.
for about 45 minutes to an hour, just to make sure I get some physical activity. And then from Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'll do some calisthenic stuff just to make sure that,
Nice.
my movement is
That's
still
fire.
pretty good. But, aside from that, that's pretty much where I'm at. I'll go to sleep at around like 11:30, 12, which I think is a bit too late still. But, it's hard to gauge what time is when you're constantly indoors. So Another thing I really want to work on is like just trying to find that time to go out more frequently.
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually very difficult because, as mentioned, it was default. You get outside,
Hmm.
and especially in wintertime, you don't get as much vitamin D. Now it's even worse
Yeah, dude.
because you're like, you don't commute, you don't do all this, you're just stuck inside. So that's actually number one. For myself, it was, getting outside was relatively okay for me because I like to run here and there.
Hmm.
So I would still have time, throughout the day to go outside. But yeah, you're
Actually,
right. Just
well,
we're
actually, I
stuck
wanted to ask you
inside
like,
all day.
because you are a very avid runner, right? So
Hmm.
when exactly in the day or during the week do you decide to like do your long runs and your short runs and all that stuff?
So my runs are more of an afterthought to my main tasks of the day. So before it was I would do a run early in the morning, but what I found with that is that it takes too much time. So I'm pushing back my important tasks to, do the morning.
Hmm.
So with running in the morning, I would have to get ready, drink coffee and do a little stretch, warm up. And then after my run, I would do another stretch. And that whole ordeal took like 2 hours, right? And then I'm going to work out too later on in the day.
Hmm.
So that didn't really make sense to me. So instead of that, I scheduled my runs later. So maybe in the afternoon. And it's in line with my workout. So right after my workouts, I go for a quick jog, and then I stretch afterwards.
So how much
Instead of
time
stretching,
does this
yeah,
typically
do I
take?
work
Like,
out?
yeah, well, like the whole workout to running, because I'm assuming you do this every day.
Yeah, almost every day. So when I used to run in the morning, it would be, let's say, 2 hours running, including the stretching and whatever warm up. And then I would work out for another hour and a half too later on the day. So in total, that's around 4 hours,
That's
right?
crazy.
That's crazy.
Holy.
And how many pomodoros is that? Like bear,
Like, yeah,
right?
it's actually bare. I think that's the
Yo,
defined
I
number.
can't
It's
calculate
bare.
that because
Yeah.
that's bear. So I was doing two things. There was a lot of repetition because after my run I would stretch,
Hmm.
and after my workout I would stretch. I'd rather get
Yeah.
that done in one go, right? So and it made more sense because when you first create a daily routine,
Hmm.
you do it after so much time and
Yeah.
days and whatnot. Eventually, you need to readjust and reevaluate your routine. And so, after doing the runs in the morning, after let's say a month, I kind of readjusted it and reevaluated it, and it didn't really make sense. So, yeah, I work out and run in the afternoon. I totally forgot the original question.
No, well, basically, I just wanted to ask, like, so like, it's a significant part of your day that you
Yeah.
schedule, and have you been doing this? Like, how long has this? Is this a COVID only thing, or were you doing this pre-COVID as well? Where you kind of single out this large chunk of your day to health and wellness?
Oh, it was definitely like throughout my, I guess, later life, right? Just working out every day, almost every day.
Hmm.
And, after doing it so long, it's not even a thought. It's more of, it's secondary. It's like breathing, right? So I just got to do it.
Yeah, it's literally part of your day.
Yeah, it's that literally part of my day. And it's like, yeah, I don't have to think about it. And during pre COVID, it was after work, I hop on the bus straight to where I worked out Ryerson, and then
Hmm.
like I didn't think about it. So that's what happens when you have a good daily routine and you stick with it. Things that are initially hard and you dread become second nature.
And not just that, when you can't do it, you feel bad. Like when you miss something, you genuinely feel bad. Like, I should have done it. I wish I did it. You know?
Right? Like especially if you schedule it first thing in the morning and then you wake up late, it's like crap.
Oh, dude, it's the
Could
worst
have been
feeling.
productive,
The worst feeling, man.
right? When was the last time you woke up like at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon? On a
Uh,
side note there.
I think honestly, during my break, there were probably a couple times. Like my break, like that just happened probably a couple times, only
Oh
because
yeah.
I could. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. I think that's it. Like you choose to, not
yeah.
like, oh, my bad,
Like it'd be very different if I did that now. I probably feel like super down about myself, but you
right?
know.
Like, yo, you usually wake up at 7:30 and you wake up at 1, that's like 4 hours. And like, yo, how many pomodoros could you have done by then? Like a
Yeah.
lot.
Also, my dog would be super upset if I did
Yeah,
that.
your dog would be pissed, like literally on the floor, maybe.
Yeah, he would not be having a good time if I did that.
That's hilarious. But I guess, yeah, it's a nice routine, having to work out every day. I think everyone should do something like that, to be honest. It doesn't have to be crazy where, you spend 4 hours, like
Hmm.
5-10 minutes, or, you know, go for a walk at
You
the
know, I
very
kind
least.
of you keep talking about like this health and wellness stuff, and I kind of want to backtrack to the four
Mm.
tenets that you talk about. Like, do you mind sharing like what are your goals? Are they the same every day, or are they different? Like, what are your daily routines for those goals?
Oh, yeah, I could break it down. That's actually very nice. So, just to repeat the four tenets: health, wellness, career, family and relationships, and personal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll give you an example of each. So, health and wellness, I work out and I cycle every day, or stationary bike every day,
Mm-hmm.
every day. And sometimes I run, sometimes I don't. But as long as I get some form of activity, that'd be great. That's one tenet.
Right.
The other is career. So, what am I doing to advance my career? Well, I'm programming. Ideally, I would like to do programming and like programming courses
Mm-hmm.
and apply for jobs. But
Right.
at the very least, I have one, and that's programming.
Yeah.
Third, family and relation. I'm not in a relationship, but I try to spend time with my sister when I work out. She comes
Mm-hmm.
outside with me to just like, be with me when I work out.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
awesome,
some
man.
time I spend with her. And four, personal. So I have a lot of personal objectives I want to achieve in life. One
Yeah.
of them right now is just to advance my, I guess, YouTube career, and I have
Mm-hmm.
been doing that recently. So as long as I get um, one task for each tenant on a daily basis, I feel more fulfilled and more happy and more productive. So that's what I do.
Are those tasks like constantly changing in terms of like a day-to-day thing, or is it like a constant, if I do those things, then these are what I want?
At the very minimum, like I try to hit one per each day, and it varies. So if, let's say, a job I really want to get is coming up,
Mm-hmm.
then I might not do some programming. I'm going to focus more on working on my resume and cover letter or whatever it is, or networking. If let's say I have a marathon coming up, then I'm going to change my workout routine and focus more on that. But yeah, it's not rigid, but I can still have some flexibility with it. And I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure. That like again, that flexibility is really key, right? Because your goals are shifting and changing all the time. Not just you, but in
Yeah.
general, right? It's a very fluid thing. Like you may have a general idea of what you want, but then life happens and things get in the way, and sometimes you have to readjust course to what that is. And so I think that's really good. Like a very big important facet to like being productivity is being flexible, right? It's adapting on the fly and really knowing what it is that the situation calls for at that time.
Yeah. And I think that's, I'm just going to repeat it, that your goals will change. You will change. We're not like the same person as we were like a year ago.
Hmm.
And so just by that, by the fact that we change, our mindset changes, what we want change. So
Yeah.
just be flexible enough, but
Hmm.
have some sort of routine. And I think that's why having a daily routine is so key,
1,000%. So with your
right?
routine right
Oh my
now,
gosh.
like, are you happy with it? Like, what do you like about, or what would you kind of alter with it?
I think my biggest drawback right now is I'm not because of this break. I've been waking up really late, going to bed like around 1 or 2, like so late, and this is very unlike me. So I really want to get that back in line, where I would wake up relatively early and not go to bed at like 1 or 2. I want
Yeah,
to
you.
aim. Ideally, here's my ideal:
Let's hear it. Let's
go to
hear it,
bed at 9, wake up at 5. Like that's ideal.
dude. That's insane.
That's insane,
That's
right?
insane.
But yo, when you wake up early, you can't help be not productive. Wait, yeah.
That's true. That's a really interesting point. It is hard to do nothing early in the morning.
Right? So what do you do like at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, it is hard not to do something. I feel like naturally when we see the sun about to rise, there's something that kicks up inside of us like, okay, you got to do something.
start your day. Like
Yeah,
the sun is rising, start your day, get something done. And like, who's emailing you at 5? Which of our friends are messaging us at 5 o'clock?
the best of us. That's who. If you
Yeah,
send an
that'd be
email
the
at
best
five
of us.
o'clock, that's the best.
Right? Actually, I want to see like a friend just message me at 5, be like,
Good morning.
WYD. good, good morning, bestest friend.
Oh yeah. I think that's the next wave. We were talking about like 2-hour phone calls. I think like a 5 p.m. good morning text. I think that's the way to go.
See you 5 a.m. Good morning text.
Yeah,
All
5 a.m.
right,
good morning
let's
text.
go. WYD 5 a.m.
I just also want to reiterate how hard it is to sleep at 9 p.m.
Dude, it's so right.
It's honestly,
Like, what are you doing at 9?
I haven't gone to sleep at 9 p.m. since like I was probably 12. Like it's
How crazy is that?
yeah, because not just, the really hard part is actually making yourself tired enough to sleep. Because you can lie down at 9 p.m., but then you'd be up for 3 hours until it's 12, and then like okay,
Oh,
what's the point?
100%.
Yeah.
Right? Just go to bed at 12 if you're going to be up that long. I think like over time, I don't know, man. I think you just have to be super busy the earlier the day, during the day enough to make you want to go to bed at 9.
So like
So,
I know you kind of have like problems with sleeping. So like it takes you a while.
yeah,
So
like
like
it works in cycles. Like right now I'm in a cycle where I can't sleep properly,
mhm,
which is funny. And then maybe a week or two later, I'll fall asleep like within 10 minutes.
mhm.
I'm not too sure why yet. I'm just seeing things. Maybe because I'm out of whack. I'm not really in my regular routine. Maybe that's why I'm not sleeping well. So let's see when I go back to work on Sunday and Monday, and
Yeah, probably the
going
break
forward.
in between that kind of like shifted things over.
Yeah, so we'll see. How are you with sleeping though? Do you fall asleep like a baby, or are you like, yo, fix it on me?
It kind of depends on the day too and what I have the next day. Sometimes if I have like a
Oh yeah.
really important thing due, I'll be really excited and like my heart will be racing and I can't really stop to think about anything else, and so I just won't be able to sleep that well. But most times, if it's sufficiently late enough and I'm tired enough, I'll sleep within like 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad. 10, 15 would be ideal. Because you're not being productive if you're up for like 3 hours, dude.
Oh, dude, no. Like,
Right?
and also we talked about this too. Like, one of the biggest macro tips of staying focused and being productive is to get an adequate amount of quality sleep.
Yeah. Dude, like if I get 3, 4 hours of sleep, unless I'm like hyped up on coffee, there's no way like laser focused. There's no
Yeah.
way, right?
No,
So sleep is
you'll be focused for like a day, and then if you do it again,
oh yeah, that's true.
yeah, it's not gonna. You just can't. Like, because I've done that too when I had like my first year, my first go around with like finals and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I could do this. 4 hours of sleep. I'll study all night, study all day, and for one exam it's good, but continued prolonged exposure to like that type of behavior is terrible. You can't do anything afterwards.
Yeah, coffee could only take you so far, right? And
Yeah,
eventually that's gonna catch up to you, right? So that's very true. Get your sleep minimum 8. I don't know. I think it depends, but I think a good number is 7.5 to 8 every night.
they actually say like seven to
I
nine for
know like
adults.
7 to 9. Who
Yeah.
like come on, who actually gets 9 consistently as an
No,
adult
I want to
working
meet
in
that
school,
person. I want to meet
right?
that person, and
Like
they're gonna tell me they get it. I'm gonna call them a liar. Like, no, you don't. Like,
there's no way you're
yeah,
getting 9 hours of sleep if you're working or a full-time student. Like maybe like full-time student, if you're like in the business or like arts program, I could see you getting 9 hours. But if you're like
I don't
engineering
know,
or like
man.
anything else, you're
As
definitely
an
not getting 9 hours sleep, man.
as an adult, I don't know anyone who gets 9 hours of sleep consistently. I just don't.
Yeah. Like who what? That's
But
crazy.
also, if you are one of those people, fellow listeners, please let us know because I would love to kind of pick your brain as to like how you're able to do this.
Yeah, man. We'll have you on our interview or woman, it doesn't matter. But we'll have you on because like that is very impressive. Like I want to know what you do. And if you're doing a lot of things, then I'm gonna be hella jealous. Like,
Oh, for sure.
right? You're a doctor, you're a YouTuber, and you get 9 hours? That's crazy.
That's insane. Because like how do you go to sleep early? I just don't get it. Like a 9, I just don't get it.
Yeah, just like like do you just go to bed? Like
I don't know, man.
What do you do?
I don't
Right?
know, man. I really don't. But anyway, so like that's the thing you want to kind of improve on for your routine this year, like just
Yeah,
kind of sleep at a more reasonable time.
I think that's it. I don't know. I think that's it. What's your thing that you want to improve on for your routine this year?
So I feel like there's a lot of little inefficiencies in my routine. I feel like there's some things I can work on, like one of which being like my physical health and well being. So I'm like I said
Okay.
before, I'm working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, a little bit of calisthenics, right? But I feel myself maybe just because I'm doing it at home, but I get like it gets kind of boring. You know what I
No.
mean? Like it's not really as exciting as like going to the gym or even running, which I would prefer to do, provided that the weather is better. But yeah, just stuff like that. Like I wanna have it at a pretty fixed time. I want to be able to work out earlier in the morning because I find myself working out later and I'm just not,
Ah,
I'm not quite as energized as I would be otherwise.
yeah. So working out. Actually, I that now that you mentioned like I guess an specific thing, and I think this would apply to you as well as French. Like, be more consistent with French, learning
Oh yeah,
French,
dude, yeah.
right?
Like how is that incorporated in your schedule? Like do you have a specific time when you do it or is it just like whenever you get a little bit, you kind of chop it up?
Well, it's funny because like I'm actually consistently doing something French related almost every day, but it's not where I'm actually like actively learning. It's more passive. So what I mean by that is usually before bed, actually 99% before bed, I do a little stretching routine,
Mhm.
and I would put on a Duolingo podcast, or I would do a little Duolingo
Wait, they
lesson.
have a podcast?
And yeah, they have Duolingo podcast, and they have in the app itself. So the Duolingo podcast are on Spotify, but they also have Duolingo, not podcasts, but like audio lessons on the app now,
Oh, no
and they're
way.
really good too. Yeah, they're
So
really good.
what is it exactly? Like it's just like a situation that they just speak
Yeah,
in
it's
French about?
very conversational type of lessons,
Hmm.
and in the audio versions, they make you repeat like part of these sentences during the conversation. So it's really good, very interactive. And I try to do that during my stretching routine at night. But
Oh, I see.
it's not enough, right? If you, yeah, but it's definitely not enough. Like if you really want to be fluent, you can't be passively learning. You got to be active and learn from your mistakes and have a pretty solid routine.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, can you hear snoring in the background?
No, you're good.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
Freddie, eh?
Yeah.
Hella cute.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Sorry. Uh, so three, two,
French. You're
one.
French.
Yeah, so French, right? It sounds like, something that kind of requires a bit of time. So yeah, I think that's something that can be incorporated more into a daily routine. For me, I'm taking it this semester as like an elective, so it's
Oh,
naturally going to be a part of my day.
that's fire.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hmm.
That's awesome. And I think with languages, you just gotta make it natural. Like it has to be part of your day somehow.
Yeah,
Right?
and
It's all
like
input output.
they say immersion, right? The best way to actually learn some fluency. And sorry to backtrack for those who don't know, part of our goals this year is to be conversational at a relative fluency in
Mhm.
French, which is why we're making this kind of like a big deal and a bigger part of our routine than we normally would.
Yeah. So that's why we keep emphasizing, French this, French that. And I think it's just so important to be multilingual or at least bilingual at the very least.
Yeah, man. Like it's so funny, like how awesome it is to understand someone speak a different language than your native tongue, right?
Right? Right? And like codes or language switching too, just like speaking English, next thing you know, you're speaking something else. Is such a flex.
Oh, it is a flex. It's the biggest flex, bro.
Right? It's like, oh, you speak this language? Yeah. And you start speaking that language to that person. It's like, what? Not
Yeah,
just English.
100%. Um,
Yeah.
but like in terms of like other things I want to improve on with my daily routine, just again reiterating, going outside. But I also want to I want to kind of incorporate the things you mentioned, the four tenets of well-being. I want to
Mm,
like I already have a career, I already have
yeah.
uh, health and well-being sort of, but I also want to take better account into my personal relationships. I feel like especially during COVID, it's a bit easy to kind of neglect that a little bit in
Yeah,
favor of the other things that you're working on. So I think that's something I want to reincorporate more into my day. Just spend more time present with the people that are important to me and stuff like that.
I think that's very important because, as you mentioned, right, like once you're on your deathbed, the main things you really want to reflect on and have something to grasp on is your family, your wife or whoever, your kids. So that's and if you invest your time to nurturing and establishing those relationships, you'll have them when you are on your deathbed. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and another a really, we talk about health and wellness as a part of the tenets as well, and a really interesting and really like resonant quote that I get from this is that, the healthy man wishes for a million things, but the sick man wishes for one.
Right? That's Isn't that so good?
Yeah, it's so good. When I first heard it, again,
That's
shout
so
out
good.
to Ali Abdel. But when I first heard it, I'm like, wow, that is, yeah, yeah, don't take your health for granted
That's a
for sure.
top. I like that one.
Hmm.
Say it again for the listeners, someone if they missed it, because I want to hear it again
Yeah,
actually.
so the healthy person wishes for a million things,
Hmm.
but the sick person wishes only for one.
That's fire,
And that's to get
fire,
better, in case you didn't
fire.
get it. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's so fire. But that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, we kind of talked about, uh, just to reiterate and to re-explain the things we talked about, because it has been a little bit, but the keys to getting a good daily routine, what I think are objectively three good things, is to make it easy, make it sustainable, and make it flexible. If it's easy, it's something that you can do over and over and over. If it's sustainable, you can do it without burning out. And if it's flexible, you're able to adjust when things happen, when life happens, right? So you're not stuck in this very rigid routine where you can't really find other areas to express yourself or try new things.
Yeah, and just to add to that, once you have that basic understanding that this is a good routine, now look into again those four tenets: health, career, family, and relationships, and try to tackle at least one for each day, for your daily routine. And one thing I don't think I mentioned is when you're just starting out and you're just creating your routine, uh, right? Don't I think there's this saying, don't let the perfect be the enemy of good. So you don't need perfection. It
Hmm.
just needs to be good,
Yeah.
right? So there you go. That's a good routine.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like focus on the four things that Jamie talked about and make sure that, your routine incorporates the three things that make it successful, right?
Hmm.
But also feel free to let us know, listeners, what your routines are this year. We're very interested, especially if, there are things that you've been working on that you really want to try out this year. Let us know, because we're always we're into this kind of discussion, and we would love to hear more.
Yeah, and we're also on this journey. We're not productivity masters or gurus or anything like that.
Yet.
So, if you say something, we'll give it a try and we'll shout you out. So don't be shy.
Yeah, 100%. And that being said, we're on to our favorite topic of the podcast, and that is what is
That
our
is
book
right.
recommendation of the week, Jamie?
So for myself, it's a book recommended by Ryan, a good friend of mine, which we will have a podcast with in the soon future.
Little
It's called Rich
foreshadow.
Dad Poor Dad. Yes, a foreshadow there. Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's essentially a personal finance book. But to summarize this whole book in one sentence or two sentences, don't chase money, make money chase you. Second, don't climb the corporate ladder, own the corporate ladder. So what I mean by that is, too often we try to rise up in the ranks of a company. Why don't you own that company instead? Doesn't mean you should start it, but look into that. With the first saying, don't chase money, let money chase you. Too often we, work for a paycheck at the end of every month as if we're chasing that check. Instead, why don't you let money chase you by investing and so that it's growing for you, or you have real estate that's growing, that's making you money. So that's my book. It's very cheap actually. It's only $10 brand new at Indigo or Amazon.
I've actually
Very
heard a
good.
lot about this book. Like, this has been in circulation for a long time.
Yeah, actually, it's 20 years now and number one personal finance book of all time. Pretty
Of all
cool.
time?
Yeah, of all
Wow.
time apparently.
Well, yeah,
Rich
I
Dad
mean,
Poor Dad.
then obviously he must be doing something right, this dad.
Seriously.
And my book of the week is, kind of kind of going in the opposite direction here. It's a fiction book, and it's called "I Am Having So Much Fun Here Without You."
That does not sound like a fiction book.
It is
What's that
absolutely,
about? That's actually great. Wow, look at that
yeah, it is absolutely
title.
a fiction book, and completely opposite to productivity and just self-improvement, stuff like that. It's far on the other side of the spectrum. Just a good read, just an interesting read. It's a very it's a touching book. It's also very how do I say it without spoiling it? It's also very dramatic. So
Oh,
read it. It's full of like personal relationships, the trials and tribulations of going through situations with the people you love, how life can sometimes get in the way, and
mhm.
that's yeah, it's a good read, man. Like definitely check it out. It's by Courtney Maum, and based in Paris, France. So as you can
Oh,
tell by the colors of the book here and the postage stamps,
and
definitely a good read. Check it out. Um, everyone needs some fiction once in a while, and I think this is a great candidate for that.
100%. I agree. Balance, it's the best of both worlds, fiction and nonfiction.
Exactly.